welcome to the Cavalier Family podcast. As many of you listeners already know, we are an independent studio, and on this little podcast here, we'll be discussing live entertainment from the big screen down to our favorite independent films, TV shows, cartoons, sometimes video games, and music. Additionally, sometimes what we do is we do have guests on the show as well. Though our actual segments will be changing. Tom, we do have a special guest, Tom, here, which I'll go into introduction in a little bit. Will be one of our last few guests that will be on the show. But again, new transition later. We'd like to thank Kevin Holmes, who did the intro and outro, Justin Dye, who created many of the musical elements for us, and our new researcher, Stephen Dawson, who did a lot of the research. As far as updates go, again, the channel will change just a little bit. You know, we want to make sure that we provide enough information for all of you as possible. So where you would get one show per week, it will be one show per month, and deep diving into the shows, cartoons, and etc. Going a little bit more information for that. Now, here's Tom's introduction. We'd like to introduce you to a man who grew up in Salem, Illinois. He did the college program down here in Orlando, Florida for the Walt Disney World Resorts, and then moved back to Illinois. What started as creating bow ties has led to his love of art, welding, bow tie making, and much, much more. You can find his shop at www.etsy.com/shop/dappermanateescc, or follow him on Instagram at dappermanateescc, Twitter at dappermanatees, at dappermanatees, and Facebook at dappermanatees custom creations. With that, we'd like to formally introduce you to Tom. Tom, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on the show. As a lot of you,
no problem.
And as a lot of you other listeners can see, we actually have Lee back for this episode. We'd like to welcome him back as well, as we all have missed him for the time that, the holiday season. Busy week.
Very busy. Yes. Glad to be back.
All right. So as we like to do a lot of the times whenever we have a guest on the show, is we like to, get to know the guest a little bit more. And with that, of course, we want to go and deep dive into Tom's little career, his little side business of Dapper Manatee. And with that, it starts with the whole schooling and what drove and what first got him to the passion. So, Tom, if you want to give us a little backstory as far as your, college degree, schooling, what actually drove you to what you are doing now.
Okay. Well, actually, I went to school at Eastern Illinois University, where I majored in both acting and set design. And basically, I got really into painting whenever I learned that I had to do costume design. We would design each one and have to paint them out. I really started to enjoy it, and so I messed with it a little bit. And then I kind of got into tattooing, which led me for a few years before I went to Disney. And then when I got to Disney, I got back to painting again, and then it seems like I've been painting ever since. I skipped a few years there when my dad died, but I got right back to it whenever my daughter was born, and I've been painting solidly for 5 years now. I do basically acrylic paintings of all different shapes and sizes, mostly pop culture, and it's all based around my TikToks, which is based to be the voice of artists. So the ideas and thoughts behind making projects and building new art pieces.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, I did take a look at some of your TikToks as well, and it looks a lot of fun as far as the artwork that you do, and you just look like you're having fun doing it. I've noticed that you've done many artwork when it comes to the Beatles artwork, when it comes to just not on canvases, but you've painted on knives, painted on saws as well, painted on shoes. So as far as that goes, like, is there a certain type of paintings that you like to do, or is there like one, or do you just like to do everything basically?
I like to let it flow wherever it's going. So I usually write down hundreds of ideas. I'm always running through different things. Very rarely is my brain not processing some type of new thing. So I write them down, and I try to make it work, especially with whatever's trending at the time. So, the Beatles were trending. I was totally down to do a Beatles painting, and I worked it into the system as best I could, which is really almost like a built-in prompt work for myself. I don't have to always be thinking of what the next idea is. I get to base it on whatever everybody's talking about or thinking about today.
That's fair. That's fair. What kind of stuff did you, of course, paint when you're in the college program? Like you were saying, when you're in college versus the college program, you kind of fell off a little bit and then started at the college program. Is there anything specific that you're painting then?
Most of the time, I was still working on just little stuff. I wasn't that great at the time. Not that I'm great now, but I'm decent now. But it was more just this or that, trying to figure out how to flow the paint. Because, like I said, tattooing was right around the same time period. So actually, I started to tattoo basically a little bit before I started to paint. So painting always kept my hand steady if I ever wanted to get back into it. So that's really the only motivator that kept me going for a while there. But it's a difficult one to keep up, especially whenever the world's so crazy like it is. So I try to keep my mediums changing all the time. I do something different to keep everything interesting and keep my mind working. I actually just bought yesterday all the wire I needed to hang a paint can from the ceiling, and I can poke the hole in the bottom and spin it. Just because, why not? I did some pour paintings not too long ago. I never was into pour paintings, but I thought, why not try them? And the shoes were next. Right now, I'm actually working on a penno piece. So it's basically painted pennies in a giant Mario shape. So that's fun to work with. Just keeping it interesting, keeping it changing, see what comes out.
Now the thing is Lee has been looking to, possibly get a little bit of artwork. How's that? Like, nice. How is that different from, on an individual versus the actual canvas or what you're working on? Like, how would you describe that?
Well, people, when you work on somebody, you have to always worry about them moving. That's always a big thing. I mean, paintings very rarely move on me. From time to time, they do. The biggest thing is just being able to put it down and come back to it. With tattooing, it's now. Everything is now. You have to have it finished or at least halfway finished. There's always a point you have to get to. With painting, you can pick it up and put it right back down when you need to put it down. And so it really gives it a better feeling. You feel every movement I've done. You feel whenever I start to get, annoyed by it, or you feel whenever I'm enjoying it in the paint. And that just doesn't come across in tattooing. It's more industrial when you do that. Same thing with set design. You're going for depth when you do set design. You're painting, trees and trying to make everything feel real, but you're also trying to convey a feeling in that work, not just the realism. So it's an important part that painting gives you that other things just don't really put together. I painted saws, like you said, saw blades. I could have painted the same thing on anything else, but a saw blade, it gives you that feeling and that it's lived its life. You're enjoying that saw blade, and you feel the hard work it's put in. So my piece just adds to its life. I'm not taking something off a shelf at a store and adding to it. It gives off that energy that you can't get off anything else.
Fascinating. So with that, of course, you've done a wide variety of things. And I'm sorry, if Lee has a question, feel free to cut me off. You have every liberty to do that if you have a question, because I don't want to keep talking because, of course, I'm a talker. So I'll just keep talking and talking and talking. So with that, like, you have such a wide variety when it comes to painting. But really, the whole Dapper Manatee came into the play of bow ties. So, because from my understanding is it
Yeah.
started with a bow tie that you wanted as far as Doctor Who goes, and you couldn't find one. So instead, you did your own thing. So how is that actual transition from a bow tie to art? Like, what is that history, and how did that come about? Like, what really gave you a spark of, you know what, I want to do bow ties. Actually, you know what, I want to do bow ties and start painting. I want to start to do work of art. So explain that transition and how, different that is, and, how fulfilling that is.
Yeah, well, like I said, I went to school for theater, and I really liked costume design and building. We had to sew just everything for the shows, and me and my wife were going to be married, and I went to look for a Doctor Who bow tie and could not find anything. Like I looked high and low on Etsy, could not find a single one. But I could find the fabric at Joann's, so I figured I would just use my degree and I put it together. And basically, it just became one of those things where I made one, and then I realized it wasn't too hard to make that one with my background, and so I made another one. And then it got to where I started selling them, and I mean it paid for a large portion of our Christmas, I believe, that year whenever I did it, because I started selling like wedding parties, 6 or 7 at a time. And but also it was a big year of bow ties, so everybody was wearing it. It made it really easy to sell them. But yeah, it was one of those things where I started doing that, and I kind of painted at the time a little bit and tried to sell those. But even with the hindsight of being able to paint differently now, those were not really that great, and so I feel bad that I even put them on there. But mostly it was the bow ties. I started making those, and they were just pumping out. I was making at least 10 a week, and it was a way to keep extra money whenever we were working at Disney, and we're living very poorly. And it just was really fun. I missed sewing. I always had a sewing machine when I got out of college. That was one of the first things I bought because I did not want to lose my skill at that. That was something that my family didn't do, but I had now done 3 years of. And I used that sewing machine all the time. The bow ties were very easy to get going. And I still do make them. I make them all the time now. This last Christmas, I believe I made at least 8 hair bows and 3 bow ties. And I hadn't made them in a long time, but it was second nature to come back, like riding a bicycle. But yeah, it transitioned pretty simply. Basically, it started with that, and then the painting stopped. And I don't know what really got me going again. My daughter kind of got to the right age that she also enjoyed painting. So we were doing a lot of little things and a lot of drawings. And then I kind of started getting close to going to work at tattooing again. So I bought a tablet, and I started drawing on that all the time and learning how to digitally do it. And it just kind of transitioned very naturally that it was time to do it. I'm a stay-at-home father. So in between naps and anything I can find a time, I come out to my shop, which is in our backyard. It's right there. So it's nap goes down, I come in here and I work. And so I started painting again, and I just haven't stopped. TikTok definitely gave me the push to keep going. People were interested, and people started buying my pieces when I put them out there. And it was basically a way to get free advertising, and it still is. Still my big advertiser. I keep that up. Nothing else pushes it quite like TikTok. But I don't know if you know, when I was in high school, my senior project, I made a movie. That was my whole thing. So I was shooting film like this in large portions all the way through college. It was one of my favorite things to do. I thought about going to school to be a director. So when TikTok came along, it's basically the same thing I was doing with old camcorders, but all pressed into your phone and made simply with editing. Things that took me days to do, I now could do in seconds. And so it came very quick to me. It was just, same old thing, just new and fun.
So
yeah.
So now let's talk about the logo. Where does the logo come into play?
Well, we were in Florida, and I was trying to think of a very catchy tag. I couldn't think of a good shop name, and I started thinking about manatees because I went over to Epcot a lot at the time and checked out the manatees. And you know, I was a hipster, especially at the time. So dapper was a very, very normal word in the time period there. And I started telling them, my wife, I was like, I think I'm going to name it Dapper Manatees. I think that's a good name. It flows on the tongue. And my first thought was that I could donate to the Manatees, which I still do. I donate to the Manatees Club, 10% of my eBay shop. But basically, I thought it was a snappy tagline, and I was totally down for Manatees, and it just fit perfectly at the time period. It's stuck now, which makes no sense now that we're in Illinois. So it probably seems really, really eccentric here comparatively. But in Florida, it was just something else. No one thought anything of it.
So who designed it?
Rebecca Scruggs. She messaged me one day and was like, "Would it be okay? I want to see if I can make this." And I said, "Yeah, go ahead." I had some strange drawing versions of it, and she would create a new one. And actually, she's working on my next one right now. She showed me the basic design that she's got for the new one, but I'm waiting for two more. So I've held out because I don't want to show it, all the time without having paid her for the whole work yet. So I'm just holding it. But yeah, Rebecca Scruggs, she's done it. Her TikTok is Nerd Mom. So for anybody that's looking for a really good digital graphic designer, she's fantastic.
It's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
Lee, did you have any questions?
No, I mean, I was just intrigued on how he got started and his pathway. That was very motivational as far as like people who, want to get started on something, then they get sidetracked. And it seemed like every time you got sidetracked, you kind of implemented it into your foundation of what you wanted to do, which I thought was kind of cool. Some people just stop what they're doing and then they do another task, and then they stop that and they get another task, and later on they're on their fifth divorce, and they still can't figure out what they want to do. So I thought that was kind of interesting how you were tying everything in.
Yeah, I like to keep all my tasks like spinning plates. That if I don't put them down, they work a lot better. I'm always constantly needing to put them down. My anxiety and anything of that my nature. I have very high functioning anxiety, so doing these things also helps keep me docile. Basically, keeps my brain functioning properly. But I've definitely had to push through many years of depression to keep moving forward on everything I do. Especially these years. Like I said, this is basically I feel like came out of this whole pandemic. Is I needed a way to channel my internal mind, and painting was the only way I could figure to get back to it. So it's really kept everything kind of together up there, at least as much as I possibly can.
Well, like if you don't mind, let's kind of grab from that. Let's kind of draw from that, because we had another guest. His name is Peter. He's part of the Cavalier family, and he does photography. And everything that you explained, that some of the inner struggles that you go through, he goes through as well. Previous guest as well. Breast cancer survivor. How there. I guess there's really two types of questions that I want to ask. Like, how is that art, your art, like how does that help with like your inner struggles? Like what are you kind of feeling? Because there are a lot of individuals who listen to these shows and they kind of feel alone, but at the same time, like we don't want them to feel alone. There's others like them. There's others who face the inner demons. Like how has art helped you in that manner?
Well, I always think of it as my brain kind of works like there's a million radio stations trying to tune in all at once. And so it just never stops. It's a constant rotation of thought after thought after thought, which is why I have such high functioning anxiety. Is I also, while I'm thinking of all the positives, I'm also thinking of every negative I could possibly think of. Art gives me something to focus in on, the same as acting. It gives you something to break away from your thoughts. When I paint, I don't have to think about everything. I have to focus on what I'm doing, and it flows from my hands and gives me a positive outlook. I feel like anything you paint, I have people message me all the time asking me how I do things, and I always say sometimes I use my fingers, sometimes I use paintbrushes. I take whatever I need to at that time, whatever feels right, and I make it a part of my medium. And what it does is it opens my mind up and gives me freedom to be who I am and not who I need to tell myself constantly I am. So like I said, with high functioning anxiety, it's very hard to have a daily routine in general, and this keeps the world flowing forward at all times. Every time I finish a painting, I'm able to take that and feel something I've created and built that wasn't there before, that gives other people a better part of their day. Especially with TikTok, I'm always getting messages, like I said, constantly getting messages about people that have been stopped painting and have come back to it. I had a girl not too long ago send me her senior project for her art class because she wanted me to see it. She said that my videos were one of the only things that kept her going forward and working on it. And it's a really a good boost in life to be able to give that to other people. And hopefully, like I said, the whole point of it was to make a little extra money on the side. But it's nice to know that the money is from positive, not from just trying to get something to sell.
Right. And
so I think anybody that has that real issue with their anxiety or, any problem like that, like I said, I'm very neurodivergent on top of it. So whatever I can get out, I get out. Whatever I can build, I build. But I think that it gives you something to grasp onto. It grounds this world to be able to build what you have in your head.
And that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, because again, like whenever we have a guest on the show, like if there's something like that comes into play, we want to make sure that the audience or people that's listening to this know that they're not alone, because everybody has their struggles in life. And like I have my own personal struggles, Lee has his own personal struggles, just life in general has its personal struggles, and we all have to find our niche, our way in life. And by you expressing that and telling everybody, this is how I do it, this is how I get through, and it helps, then if nobody has thought about doing art or certain types of art pieces, then by listening to you, by listening to everyone who's been on the show, then maybe it motivates them to go ahead and do exactly that. So like with that, I've always have been a fan of art. I've always been a fan of writing and, just stories in general. And your story specifically explains exactly who you are as an individual, explains exactly who you are as an artist, and explains exactly who you are even as a father. So and a husband as well. So with that, that just brings a whole life story into what you love doing. And with that, of course, before we actually move on, what I would like for you to do is, because we're going on to our next segment, go ahead and explain to everybody where they can find you, social media, website, stuff that, was mentioned in the beginning, but also we want to make sure that everybody knows on where they can find you, see you, and be able to check out your wonderful works of art as well.
Yeah, for sure. My main link is linktree/dappermanatee. It's linktr.ee/DAPPER MANTA. I better look actually now. How do you spell manatee? Manatee. And that'll take you to my Etsy shop, my TikTok, my Instagram, my Facebook, and anywhere else that leads to. So you can always find me there. Yeah, come and check out those TikToks. 2 a day, always.
Awesome. And thank you so much for, of course, sharing your life story and everything like that. And with that, what we'll do is we'll jump to a year that you chose, Tom. Good old wonderful 2014. And with that, we are officially back in 2014. In this segment for Back in Time, we discuss the top TV shows, cartoons. This week we have music, movies, and toys. And since Tom is our guest, we'd like to start off with our guest. So Tom, if you want to lead us into this Back in Time segment with the top TV shows, take it away.
All right, yeah, no problem. All right, guys, this is the top TV shows by Wikipedia. We have top 7. We're going to start with Sunday Night Football on NBC, followed by The Big Bang Theory, followed by NCIS, and then luckily followed that by NCIS New Orleans, followed that by Empire, and then Thursday Night Football, and following that with Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, and with that, of course, we all know that Lee is a huge football fan. I mean, I couldn't tell with his, at this point, I would make a sarcastic remark in regards, a Patriots hat or an Eagles hat. But since it is your first time back onto the show, I'll go easy on you this time around.
Okay, so you can comment about Patriots all you want. I'm not a hater of the Patriots and neither are the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm a very neutral football fan. I've wanted to go to a game. I haven't gone to a Giants game yet. So I was going to go to the Giants and Buccaneers game, but never made it. So
how about them Cowboys?
Well, let's talk about The Big Bang Theory. That's a great TV show.
Yeah. And I've seen a few episodes. It did its own spinoff with Sheldon when he was a younger age. I've seen a couple of episodes. I enjoyed everyone that I've seen. It definitely brought that nerdiness to a TV program that you don't really see nowadays. So that was roughly a new thing. Tom, have you seen? I'm going to guess, and you can completely tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to guess that you are maybe a fan of Big Bang Theory.
I am a passing fan. I've seen episodes. I don't follow it closely. Seems like a show that I would. But yeah, no, it's a great show. I mean, it really changed the style of television for the time period. And I got to give it to them for that multiple floor staging piece where they just got to put a couple things on the elevator and we have 3 stories. One of my favorites.
Lee, do you have anything?
No, out of all the shows, of course, football's football. I've never been a big fan with Dancing with the Stars, of course. Seen one episode of Empire, just not my thing. And heaven forbid, I don't know anybody who has not seen an episode of NCIS or a trailer or something. That whole series is huge, especially when they have to do spin-offs in different series, for God's sake. I guess out of that list, definitely The Big Bang Theory. I've watched so many different episodes. It's ridiculous, and know a little bit about the back history and stuff, and I thought that was kind of cool. Kind of Googled the actor that played Sheldon Cooper, and I thought it was kind of interesting to actually hear his voice doing other things. I believe he also starred in the cartoon Home, if I'm not mistaken, with that little alien. Can I come in now or something like that? And then I found him in a 1980s, 90s cartoon called The Pound Puppies. He was actually in that cartoon as well.
I think I remember that.
Yeah.
I think he's actually he's one of the aliens in Galaxy Quest.
Yeah, I remember that too.
One of the background ones. Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting to hear his voice in Pound Puppies. Kind of threw me off because I think he kind of set the stage of him always being known as Sheldon Cooper. So you kind of hear that voice and you think, oh, Sheldon's back, instead of, hey, he's a pound puppy, or, he's an alien kind of thing, and he's in a different role. But I think the Big Bang Theory really made a name, brought back some of the, it would be actresses or actress from Roseanne. So that was interesting how they brought her back, because nobody knew who she was, and everyone said that, oh, she was, so and so in Roseanne. It was like, what? She was in Roseanne? And then you pull up Roseanne, and sure enough, she's in Roseanne, and now she's super intellectual in this show. So, and Roseanne had that dirty, how do you say, dirty American Family feel, just, it was just one of those shows that either you liked or didn't like because of the layout and the content. So I know when I was growing up, my parents wouldn't allow me to watch it because they didn't like it. So
fun fact, that house is very, very standard 90s Midwest.
Yeah.
Very, like, if you were going to paint a picture of a standard 90s Midwest house, it'd be that dirty mahogany, smell like cigarettes type house.
Yep.
That's very true. Yeah. Like out of all those shows though, I mean, Big Bang Theory didn't really watch so often. Football, I would only watch whenever, Lee would invite me. And that depends on whether or not if I'm wearing a Dallas Cowboy shirt, and I'm not even a Dallas fan. So I just do it just for giggles.
And how many times was the door locked when you knocked on the door and I wasn't home? Oh yeah. We won't get into that.
But Empire, though, is one of the shows that I did watch quite a few times until that whole, controversial thing that came out. And then it wasn't just because of that, but it was also because like it went on a hiatus for a little bit, and I just kind of fell off, kind of like The Walking Dead. Like I just kind of fall off at some point. But I mean, I enjoyed it. I love hip hop. I love rap. Rap, I was actually introduced by Lee with Tupac. So I mean, Tupac, Eminem, those are the big hitters for my fandom. But yeah, let's go into the top cartoons, which, ironically, I'll be honest, I've seen more of the layouts of these. Haven't really watched many of them, but the top cartoons come from pastemagazine.com. Number 1 is Bob's Burgers. Number 2 is Adventure Time. Number 3 is Rick and Morty. Number 4 is Bojack Horseman. And then number 5 is Legend of Korra. And with this, I'll be honest, I've never seen Bob's Burgers. I've seen Adventure Time a couple of times. Rick and Morty, I've seen like a few episodes. The major episode that I remember of that, and my favorite, even though it's only been like a few episodes, was Rick and Morty went to a planet where it's nothing but Rick and Morty's. And Morty is a cop, and he's on tour, on patrol as with himself. And they go down like this very sketchy location, and it's a whole bunch of Mortys. I'm guessing they were selling drugs or something. And it was a Morty looking at the cop Morty, the real Morty, and the drug dealer Morty was giving him like this evil death stare. And for some reason, I just thought that was hilarious. Bojack Horseman, I haven't really watched. Legend of Korra, I do know because, I know that from the Avatar series. I've seen a couple of episodes, but not a lot. Tom?
I have seen everything on this list except for Bojack Horseman, and I love them all, man. I mean, Bob's Burgers has to be number 1 for me. It's one of my favorites, but Legend of Korra was solid. And so was I just finished watching Adventure Time all the way through, and it was really good too. So it's a solid year of really good television.
Oh yeah, I would highly agree. Lee, have you seen any of those or no?
I did watch BoJack Horseman and Bob's Burgers. BoJack Horseman, of course, is rated for mature audiences only. I believe I'm trying to find it now, but it is on Netflix. What I think is interesting, that kind of caught my attention is, I don't know if you guys ever seen Arrested Development, but the
Mhm.
Hall brother,
Sure.
he's the actor Will Arnett. He actually plays in that as a voice. So that was one reason why I kind of watched it, just to kind of see. It is considered comedy. Um, I don't know. I don't think it's made for everybody. I mean, it's not one of those that, I'll brag to everybody and go, oh, you got to see this episode. It's just either you like it or don't. Kind of like The Walking Dead. I mean, you have your Walking Dead fanatics. I was like, oh my gosh, last season was amazing. And it's like, all right, whatever. It's just, if it's your cup of tea, it's your cup of tea. If it's not, then it's not. So,
Yeah, that was basically me on Walking Dead all the way until like I just fell off, which was like maybe the 6th or 7th season is when I
I made it to
fell
the
off.
third season. So, congratulations.
It just got too repetitive in my taste. Like it went from, the city to the farmhouse, and then a season of the farmhouse, a season or two, and then it went to the guy with the eye patch. Can't think of his name right now. For some reason, I want to call him the sheriff, but it's not the sheriff. Um, and then it kind of stayed there for a little bit, and then it went to the prison, which the prison and the guy with the eye patch was there, but it was at the prison where it lasted for like 3 seasons. And then they went to, Alexandria, and Alexandria lasted for, and I think they're still in Alexandria. So I think that's kind of where I fell off, is in between then. Obviously I saw Glenn die. I saw, uh, what's his, I forgot his name, but he gets the arrow through the eye, or the girl that gets the arrow through the eye on the railroad tracks, and that's kind of where the last season I left off. But no, I was one of those people for Walking Dead.
Nope, not me. Can't say the same.
I think I got till the country mansion that they were staying at, and then I was over it.
I think that's about as far as I made it.
So hard. Yeah, that's about where it became like, yep, the cinematography kind of wore off. Like glamour was gone.
Yeah. All right, Lee, you want to take us to the music?
Yes. So I'm gonna go backwards. So the top 5, start with number 5, was "Counting Stars" by One Republic. Love the song, still do. Next is "Fancy" by Iggy Azalea, I believe.
Azalea.
Sure, we'll go with that. My tongue is not twisting. I'm kind of hungry today. Number 3, "All of Me" by John Legend. Number 2, "Dark Horse" by Katy Perry. And topping off number 1 was "Happy" by Pharrell Williams. I guess for music genre, there's at least 2 songs that stick out: "Counting Stars" for me and "Dark Horse." As weird as it may sound, everybody picks on Taylor Swift fans and Katy Perry fans and Lady Gaga fans and God knows what else kind of fans that you are. But I thought Dark Horse was pretty good. The first time I heard it was on my sound system, and that was the first time my wife came down and told me to turn it down because the whole house was vibrating. So I was like, oh shit. So that's how I know that song. Didn't even know what song that was. I was like, wow, that sounds great down here. And of course, it sounded too great because I had to turn it down. I think that was the song that bowed out my plexiglass window in my basement too.
That's fair. Yeah, I know Katy Perry played a big thing during my college program in 2010 with California Girls, and lo and behold, I married a California girl. So that's kind of a little bit of irony to that, and the fact that she was working at Disney. So it's just ironic altogether. Happy. I'll be honest, I wasn't too much of a big fan of Happy. In the beginning, I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of catchy. But then, to me, in my own personal opinion, not for everyone else, it just, I think, was overplayed for me.
Hold on. I got a sample here. I don't remember Happy. Hold on 1 second. Let me see. Okay, yeah, I'm done. All right. Yep, I know that song.
Yeah. Thank you. Next time I'll be sure to wear a Dallas Cowboys shirt to your place. And then
I just bought a brand new rifle, so I don't think that you could pull into the driveway.
okay, fair enough. I'll make sure it's inside out then. And then All of Me with John Legend. I have it on my phone. I bought it for a reason. When I first heard it, I enjoyed it. Fancy, Iggy Azalea. It was good during the time. When I hear it, I still listen to it. Not on a regular basis though. Just want to throw it out there. I don't want to sound like I listen to Iggy Azalea while I'm working out or anything like that. But that was good during the time. And when I do hear it on the radio, it's like, oh, okay, I remember the song. One Republic, though, Counting Stars, my first introduction to, I believe, One Republic was on the TV show Scrubs. And that was kind of a big song on that. It was very fitting for that little thing there. But yeah, like that's actually that's my memory of the top songs. Tom, what about you?
All of these songs were great radio hits that I do not remember very much. I remember the songs, but I feel like this whole year was just a mixture of songs that I went, yeah, it's a good song, I guess. All of Me was pretty good. Counting Stars, I do not remember anything about Counting Stars, but I like One Republic, so it's probably the best one on the list for me. Dark Horse, yeah, way overplayed. Happy, I still hear it processing in my brain because I played it so many times. Fancy, I was very glad the day they stopped playing that song. So yeah.
So it didn't make you happy?
Happy wasn't too bad. Pharrell was really into wearing those giant hats at the time, so that's the only thing I can like. I was not clapping along. I can say that. But Fancy, not a fan. Definitely not a fan. Did not make me feel fancy. Nothing.
Well, so to give you guys an insight, Counting Stars. I've been losing sleep, dreaming about the things that we could be. But baby,
yeah, I like that song. It was also very overplayed.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. With the three of you, I highly agree with that.
I'll remember to play that next time Todd comes over in a Cowboys outfit. And just for everybody out there that just thinks that this is an ongoing war, this Cowboys fan is playing all your asses because he's actually a New York Giants fan. So don't even try this shit. Like a few times, yeah, that was funny, but I'll still pop you with my gun if you come in a Dallas Cowboy outfit, if it doesn't even burn your skin when you put it on to begin with. But it's all right, buddy. I still love you.
Okay, fair point. Don't worry. I wouldn't do Cowboys, so it's fine. All right. So with that, Tom, do you want to take us to the top toys?
Yeah, let's see. So the top toys, based on a Huffington Post list, starts with A, Razor Crazy Cart, B, Frozen Snow Glow Elsa, number 3, Fisher Price Laugh and Learn Chair, number 4, Zoomer Dino Boomer, and number For Real Friends. I would have to say the only one on that list that I have even heard of is the For Real Friends, so I would say it probably was the best one of that year. But man, I don't know any of those.
Yeah, on that one, I had to Google Zoomer, and Zoomer I do remember, but yeah, Zoomer Dino Boomer, I do remember that one, but I think it's because I'm older, like those toys just aren't in my attraction as far as walking into stores and going, ooh, I gotta have that now.
Yeah, I'd see. I just looked it up myself, and I have no idea what a Zoomer Dino Boomer is. I've never actually seen one of those, but I will say though that the For Real Friends, I agree with Tom. Like that is basically the only one that I do remember from any of those toys. Not saying that I've seen Frozen obviously, but I don't even remember that toy. And then the laugh and learn chair, I have no idea what that is.
I just want a Razor Crazy cart. If I could just get that, I don't even know what it is, but that sounds fantastic.
I mean, it's made by Razer, right? So let's see. It looks like one of those things that.
Oh yeah, it looks exactly like I want it to look like.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of when we were younger and we used to have those little. When we're little in gym class and stuff, and we'd go on our stomachs to go on to the to wheel around in, or go on or sit on and
the little cart.
Yeah, that's kind of what it reminds me of a little bit.
You add Razor and Crazy to that, and you're good.
All right, let's see here, my friends. Lee, do you wanted to take us to the last top 5, which are the top grossing movies?
Absolutely. Top grossing movies 2014. These were brought to us by thenumbers.com. Now, the year 2014 had a lot of honorable mentions, of course. Had a lot of great movies. And I can never pronounce the name. Todd, you might have to help me out with the first one.
Maleficent?
Yeah, there you go. That is on the list. X-Men, Days of Future Past, The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, Big Hero 6. That's how we got the name of our dog, believe it or not, is Hero. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And the biggest surprise was Frozen. Was only at 27th place with $104 million. That kind of throws me off. Maybe it came out at the end of the year. I don't know. Maybe the song wasn't stuck in everybody's head, so they had to go out and, watch that movie right away. So top 5. Let's start with Transformers: Age of Extinction at number 5 at 245 mil. The Lego Movie at 257 mil. We had Captain America: The Winter Soldier at 259 mil. The Hunger Games: Mockingjay, 323 mil. And then at number 1, Guardians of the Galaxy at 333 mil.
Nice. Very nice. Now, out of all those movies, obviously, I mean, I've seen all of them. Now, I know that Frozen was only the 27th place, which, I mean, I was expecting first place because of how big it is. But, I mean, sometimes you just got to let things go or just let it go, I guess, in that manner.
Wow.
Sorry, you guys kind of had to expect that.
I mean,
I think my internet connection's getting weak now. You might be cutting up soon.
Well,
cutting out there. I missed the punchline.
But with, of course, the number 1, though, I kind of expect Guardians of the Galaxy. The one thing that got me introduced to that was a little thing over at Hollywood Studios. They had the first 5 minutes of the movie where they used to have an attraction. I can't remember it, but it had to deal with Drew Carey. They had that attraction there, but instead they replaced it and showed movies, 5 minutes of the opening sequence of movies there every once in a while. Hunger Games, I mean, I watched the first one, enjoyed it. Second one was good. Captain America, big Marvel fan. So Winter Soldier with Bucky, it was a great introduction. Plus, that's how we got the Russo brothers. Well, no. Yeah, that's how we got the Russo brothers, because then they came back for Civil War and then, of course, Avengers and stuff like that. Lego Movie, very creative in that manner. And very funny, too. I mean, I was not expecting the route that they were going. So I loved it, enjoyed it, and every Lego fan that I know who's big into building absolutely loves that movie and is one of their favorite movies because of all the tie-ins that they have there. And of course, Transformers: Age of Extinction, for me, may have not been one of my favorite Transformers movies, but I mean, it's a Michael Bay film, so you get the action in there.
I've never seen Age of Extinction, but the rest of them, great.
Yeah. Age of Extinction was pretty good. I mean, before they kind of try to retcon everything with Bumblebee. But
yeah, that's where I stopped watching. I did not that I stopped. I didn't have an interest enough to rent them. After that Bumblebee movie, it seemed like they were trying to go towards the comic books or try to fit something that they missed in the first movie. So then it just became something else, and I didn't have the time or energy to start over.
Yeah, I agree. All right, fellas. So this is where we go into the Sell Me a Movie. So with that in mind, let's jump into our next segment of Sell Me a Movie.
Hello there, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and children.
And welcome to Sell Me a Movie. This segment here is where the three of us actually pick one movie out of the top 5 to try and sell to you, the audience. What we try to do is pick a movie that we've never seen before in hopes that you've never seen it before, only because of the fact that then that way that provides us the opportunity to try to sell you a movie that may interest you and why we think is the best movie of that actual year itself. And without further adu, with that, what we'll do is we'll let Lee go first. Of course, all these movies are done in secretive in a formulated way to where we don't pick the same movie. So we don't even know what Lee or Tom, or they don't know what I picked either. They have 3 minutes to, of course, sell that movie to you guys. With the new transition, I may shorten it a little bit, maybe just a minute, but we'll see. Little sneak peek there. So Lee, what we'll do is I'll count you down to 3, 2, 1, and you have 3 minutes to sell your movie. You ready?
Heck yeah, I was born ready.
All right, my friend. In 3, 2, 1.
So, Transformers: Age of Extinction. Since I have 3 minutes, and of course I don't see a timer, I'm just going to look at my laptop screen so that way I know. But it's all good. So Age of Extinction, we kind of talked about it a little bit among friends, and a lot of my friends, of course, didn't want to watch it after the first few, just because they felt like it went too far with dinosaurs. I've always been a fan of Jurassic Park, just because of how it was created, just bringing dinosaurs to life. And I said, how bad can this movie be? So I went into it. Most of you guys know I try to go into it as neutral as possible. I personally think the actual content of the movie was critical to set up future Transformer movies. Similar to like the Star Wars trilogy, where you watch the first 3, then they bring back something, and then it's kind of like, as soon as that 4th Star Wars movie came out after the original 3, a lot of people got upset. Age of Extinction to me was similar to that. It kind of started, it kept a lot of the same story plot, but at the same token, it did bring in dinosaurs with, the expectation of what the cartoons brought. Personally, I think it was one of the better ones for the variety of, Transformers in it. Had a lot of great funny parts, specifically speaking, the Chinese lady in the hallway. I can't repeat that line because I'm trying to keep it, PG rated for the most part, but definitely a good movie. I mean, it wouldn't be a good movie if it wasn't in the top 5. So go see it.
Nice. And you had 1 minute and 18 seconds left. With that, did you want to add anything for last sentence?
Go see it.
Okay, that's fair. All right. So with that, we go on to Mr. Tom. Tom, let me know when you're ready. I'll count you down.
I'll ready whenever you are.
All right, my friend. 3, 2, 1.
All right. The movie that I chose was the Lego movie. I chose this because, as my great uncle used to say, you always put stock in things you know that aren't going to go away. Lego movie is never going to dull. It's one of those movies that no matter what time period you watch it, it's going to have an interest to someone. It also is one of the movies that its spin-off is known as the highest grossing Batman film ever made. So Lego Batman came from that, and that just shows the growth of that entire movie. Like I said, it's visually beautiful, especially for that time period. For them to create such a computerized look that looks almost real. I didn't know when I first watched it that it wasn't, stop motion. I expected stop motion. But it's just a great movie. We still watch it now. It came out years before my daughter was born, and she still loves it. The plot still fits. And then you've got Will Ferrell that just pops up there out of the middle of nowhere and fits in as the real person. And like I said, even now as a dad, the storyline fits so nicely that you can watch it at any time and it'd be great. Yeah, like I said, I just visually stunning and holds up. Great movie for the time period. I think that's my sell.
Oh wow, both of you guys had time left, so that kind of, Tom, you had like a minute and 30. Lee had a minute and 18. So I guess I'm going to try and do it in the 2 minutes now. Just trying to meet there in the middle. So we'll see. Hopefully I do it as well as you guys. But all right, Tom, since you're the guest, you want to count me down?
Okay. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
All right. 3,
3, 2, 1.
Perfect. Okay, so with this, I actually went with what Tom gave me. I didn't actually have a choice. Tom picked a movie for me. So I am going to go and went with Hunger Games. This one was the third installment. It was Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1, not Part 2, because Part 2 came out a year after that. It was directed by Francis Lawrence, based on a book by Susan Collins. Of course, it stars with an all-star cast like Jennifer Lawrence, Josh Hutcherson, and Liam Hemsworth, Woody Harrelson, Philip Seymour Hoffman, may he rest in peace, Elizabeth Banks, Julianne Moore. Basically, unlike the first two movies, where it takes place kind of like in a battle royale area, where each person from a certain section of living actually has to fight to the death. Basically, that's the first movie. That's basically the second movie. This movie is all about how Jennifer Lawrence's character, she goes to save her best friend PETA, who's of course captured by President President Coin, if I'm not mistaken, Coin A. He is a horrible dictator within the actual main location, main living area, or main living location. And he's just a ruler. He's an all-out ruler that plays these games with everybody, who takes and captures somebody from each location. And it's all poverty based as well. So you have all these locations and you just make people fight one another. Of course, he captures PETA and Jennifer Lawrence's character. She goes and tries to save her best friend that has saved her through every one of the series as well. Also, there is a love triangle dynamic between, PETA and who is played by Josh Hutcherson, as well as Liam Hemsworth character. They, love triangle between Jennifer Lawrence and the two there. So yeah, it's great action packed. It's so much better than Twilight. Though it's within that realm of young adult books. It's, to me, better than Twilight. But with that in mind, it's great action packed, great action flick, and I will say go and watch it. And time. With that, it kind of brings us to the close. What we would like for you guys to do, the audience, leave a comment below. What movie do you think is the best between the three of us? Is there a movie within those top 5 that you prefer more? Is there a movie within that year that you prefer more? Also, leave a comment below. Just let us know what random year you want us to go over. And before we actually close out, Tom, if you could, one more time, my friend, go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you, your website, your social media, everything.
Once again, you can find me at linktree/DapperManatees. It's LINKTREE/DAPPERMANATEE. That doesn't flow as much as it sounds when you write it on paper. But linktree/DapperManatees. That's where you can find me. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram. Search Dapper Manatees. I'm the first thing to pop up on Google as well.
Awesome. And with that in mind, we can't thank you guys enough for joining us today. And we can't thank Tom for being one of the last few interviews that we were doing, as it is going into a new direction, because we want to be able to provide more information for you guys. So Tom, we'd like to more than humble and more than thankful for you to actually come in on the show and, showcasing your work, telling us about your work. And, hopefully we'll be able to meet again in the future. And with that in mind, go check out his work, everybody. Go to his website, check out what he does, because we want to support local artists. We want to support independent artists, and we want to be able to provide that entertainment for all of you. So with that, we hope you guys have a wonderful night.